like the people that have been fired over the Charlie Kirk, mocking his death or saying things about his death. And I mean, I've seen a couple of videos of the people who got fired, and their first response is usually, I didn't know, or I didn't mean to say it, or I thought I was protected under free speech. But in my mind, it's while yes, you are protected under free speech, you still have consequences for your actions.
I agree specifically with the mention of like cancel culture. And what I thought was kind of interesting to think about is most of the time, like the person being canceled.
When and where did you learn, hey, there really are consequences for some of this stuff on social media? When you pull your phone out and you're on Facebook or wherever you're at, Instagram, be careful. Sometimes canceling people for saying really stupid things, not really a bad thing. Like, stop saying stupid stuff. Would you both agree with that? But what constitutes stupid stuff, right? When the two of you hear freedom of speech, where's your mind go? Where's like the first place it goes?
For me, it goes to be able to express yourself through like your values and your thoughts and be able to share that with people.
Express yourself, and how, like, what things are you thinking about expressing?
I mean, mainly when you talk about freedom of speech, like your values and the things that you hold home, like to the core. I just think that that's important to be able to express.
For me, just immediately off the bat, I sort of think of more like extremist opinions, I guess you could say, because a lot of the times I've seen people use the excuse like, oh, I can say that because of the First Amendment, because we have freedom of speech. So yeah, my mind would go to those
more extreme
opinions.
Yeah, what's like, do you have an example of that? How about
people saying things about abortion or having their opinion on that, like very political, dividing topics.
Cody, for you, what Jenna just said about like really more extreme positions, are you like, do you measure like?
I mean, I wouldn't say I really like measure what it is, but when we talk about like people with controversial thoughts and more extremist thoughts, my mind goes to the fact that, like even though you're protected under freedom of speech, your consequences aren't protected. So people that have, like, to give you a timely example, like the people that have been fired over the Charlie Kirk, mocking his death or saying things about his death. And I mean, I've seen a couple of videos of the people who got fired, and their first response is usually, I didn't know, or I didn't mean to say it, or I thought I was protected under free speech. But in my mind, it's while yes, you are protected under free speech, you still have consequences for your actions. And sometimes you just need to think, okay, before I send a tweet, before I post something, is this insensitive to some people? Can this be insensitive?
So how often? So Gaga here, kind of what she was implying was, yeah, but some of those consequences, like they're shifting all the time. Right? How often are you thinking about the shifting sort of consequences of being of free speech?
I think like the biggest would be like the cancel culture, where like that movement was kind of like, in my opinion, I think it's dying down a little bit. I haven't seen it as much as like when COVID first happened, but just the fact that people were speaking their mind, and some of them were getting like kind of just canceled for like dumb reasons, just because they made someone mad.
Because they were saying something that was kind of stupid. They didn't need to say anyway.
Yeah.
I agree specifically with the mention of like cancel culture. And what I thought was kind of interesting to think about is most of the time, like the person being canceled, perhaps they would say something bad or something hateful, but more often than not, the people that were attacking that person were spreading more hate and continuing to further that violent speech, right? That hate speech that they are against. So
when you hear people say, or you read or observe people, mostly you don't see it anywhere in real life because people aren't. Has anybody ever walked across campus and found someone saying really outlandish things anywhere on campus? It's like Gary the Willard preach. Like,
Yeah,
like-
you know those people in the hub with like the big like stakes
Oh yeah,
and stuff.
that. Okay,
Oh,
those folks. Yeah, they're pretty. Well, they're trying to get your attention, right? But otherwise, how often do the two of you find yourself managing whether to say something that could go up against the free speech, the wall, right? And therefore you might get canceled. Like, how often do you find yourself doing that?
I mean, I think it's more because I'm not someone who like posts a lot on social media, but I think it's more of like just people on like Twitter or X that kind of like post things. But I think that in their mind, it's, like no one's going to see this tweet, but like most of the time they just like the tweets just blow up. Like so many people see it and so many people have opinions on it, and it just keeps growing and keep growing and keep going. But for me, it's always just been like, just, like think before you act. Like sometimes if you're mad or something and you have that like rush of adrenaline where you just want to say whatever, sometimes I just pull myself back and just, it's not worth it.
So when did the two of you, Jenna, I want to start with you. When and where did you learn, hey, there really are consequences for some of this stuff on social media? When you pull your phone out and you're on Facebook or wherever you're at, Instagram, be careful before you. When did you first?
I would say for a long time. I was on the internet like at a pretty young age, so I was seeing what was being posted and distributed, I guess, across the internet back then, which was way worse then, I believe, than it is now. And I feel like even then I didn't agree all the time with what was being posted. I knew that that was wrong and not something that I would interact with. So I feel like I've always been pretty like mundane and not voice my opinions, I guess, too loudly. But I guess that does also, I do that because I know the consequences.
Okay, so sometimes what I'm hearing, sort of an indirect thing, what I'm hearing from you is, I want to hear what the two of you think about this. Sometimes canceling people for saying really stupid things, not really a bad thing. Like, stop saying stupid stuff. Would you both agree with that? But what constitutes stupid stuff, right? Because it's going to be different for Jackie and Gaga here, for you and me, for the two of you, for me. Everyone's going to define stupid stuff differently. So you agree that, like, yeah, well, it's whatever. Don't say that stuff. But sometimes it's like, here's the line, right? Sometimes, you don't even know you've walked over the line, because it's like international students saying colored people instead of people of color. And then they get yelled at. I've had a number of conversations with students of color who get yelled at by African American students going like, colored people is a racist term. And they're like, what the I don't know, it's like I speak Arabic. English is my third language or my fourth language. Like, give me a break. And then you're coming at me like it's a racist term. And so, it's like, oh God. So, you can get canceled by saying something racist. So how do you manage that? Like, how do you make sense? This is your whole lives. You got to make sense. Some people get canceled, others don't. I might, I don't.
I mean, you can't really manage it like on a mass level. Like, it's my opinion.
No, just for yourself.
Yeah, but like everybody's so different.
Yeah.
Like everybody has different views, or everybody has different things that make them mad or makes them happy. So you can't really like, it just has to be like a case by case basis.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I'm just, scrolling through Twitter and I just see a tweet and someone like, I don't know, says something like not like the worst thing ever, you just kind of read it and you just, you kind of see like the different people respond to it. And then you're just like, for me, I just carry on with my day.
Just move on.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's your recommendation.
Personally, I would say it's important to just follow your own path, your own values, and how you feel. And that's what the First Amendment is for as well. Mm-hmm. And if you feel something is wrong, then you have a right to say something about it. And I think that also we can all learn from other people's opinions, whether they're the same or different. You can take that opposite opinion to manipulate, or not manipulate, but, shape your own. So
listen, by and large, the two of you are just randomly chosen to be up here, okay? So, people might have the idea that, I specifically we chose you all because you think about this a lot and you're random. You just happened to say it the other day, so here you are, but otherwise. How different are you in the things that you're saying? How different are you from the your friends and others?
I mean, I wouldn't say that I'm different, like compared to like everybody else in here, because I'm sure there are.
Well, hang on, we all think we're different.
Well, yeah, but I'm sure there's people in here that probably think similar to me, where they just kind of move on with their day, and then you have maybe some people that will take the extra second and kind of like that doesn't sound right to me. Let me respond, and then you may have some people that would inform the other people.
For me personally, I would say my group of friends, like some people agree with me, some don't, but that doesn't really matter at the end of the day because we all still get along and are able to, be friends, even if we have different opinions, like politically or socially or whatever.
But it is really tough for for this generation, y'all, to have to manage this stuff. Like, I don't know how this everything you put on the internet is there forever. Like it's there. It's like, oh my God. Mostly it gets lost. The vast majority of things, like the videos in this class, they're there for a week and then they're gone.
I think the First Amendment has a double standard for sure. And especially when it comes to like racism. With the Charlie Kirk thing, like people are getting, arrested or they're getting fired from their jobs. But like, if a white person says an N-word, people are just like, oh, that's bad, we're going to cancel you. But then you can bounce back, you can come back. And there was a case of this white woman. She called this like 9-year-old boy the N-word. She gets fired from her job. And then a bunch of people raise like $100,000 for her. Like, I feel like, okay, people are like, oh, anybody can say the N-word. And me as a black person, and I know that's like, and like the black community, like everybody thinks differently, but like me personally, people shouldn't just be saying the N-word like that, especially if you're not black. They're like, okay, we're oppressed too, we can say what we want. Like, it's not violated under the First Amendment, but these certain words hurt communities. And even if like you're not saying the N-word in a racist way, I personally take like, if you're saying the N-word in a more casual way, I take it more offensively than if you're like saying it in a more derogatory way towards me. Like if you're using it racistly, I'm gonna laugh at you because you sound stupid and dumb. But if you're just like, oh, what's up, oh, okay, no, you can't do that.
So for you, some of the free speech, the containment on free speech, really, because that's what we're talking about here. Because it's pretty widely known. Like, hey, there's certain words, certain things you don't say, right? People say them anyway because for whatever reason, but most people don't. Most people don't. It's just like on airplanes, people that have air rage. There's a lot less air rage than it would seem if you're watching videos on social media. But for you, there's like a kind of a containment. Actually, yeah, well, it really does bother a lot of people when people are randomly throwing around the N-bomb. So it's like, don't say it. So it's not inherently a problem. So even though the law is going to protect you for that, it's like it still is. It's like, don't do it. It's
bad.
And so you would say, so Cody, you started talking about values, and kind of one value, probably I would guess that you have, is that you don't want to impinge on somebody else's sense of self and comfort in who they are. So like you wouldn't.
Absolutely not. Think that.
So you're not going to push something. I can say the N-word because I can, and I should be able to. You're not going to do that because it's like it doesn't go with your values.
No.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, I got that. The vast majority of white people who drop the N-bomb in some like really kind of serious way, like they're in some kind of altercation or whatever, it really wreaks havoc on their lives, man. That one particular woman, she became a cause célèbre in some kind of deeply conservative, some community, I don't know what, and they did a GoFundMe for her and raised a bunch of money. But yeah, the vast majority, it's like, nah, you don't want to do that.
And my concern that it's going to just become normalized. Like, so I'm from Houston, and Houston, if you guys don't know, it's very diverse. And in my class, I was in welding in high school, and I was like the only black person in there. And I went to a really, like, there was a bunch of black people at my school, but I was the only black person and one of 3, women in that class. And everybody was throwing around the N-word, like, and when people ask like younger generations, oh, what's slang? What's slang? They're like, the N-word's so funny. It's so funny. It's so funny. And I don't know, it's like them hearing other people and they're just like trying to like emulate them. They're like, oh yeah, that is funny. That is funny. But it's not.
Yeah.
And they think it's okay. Well, it's not that bad. It doesn't bother them anymore. Oh, I'm going to give you the N-word pass, or, it's free speech. We can say whatever we want. Or, and we see these things, it gets so normalized, and I'm afraid that the meaning of the word is going to get like taken away.
Yeah, I got you. No, thanks for that. I appreciate that. I think probably not. I think we're seeing a certain movement in some directions, but I actually think that it won't be normalized, and I think we're just seeing a. But I don't know why young people do that, man. You're young. You're better able to explain why your classmates would think that was okay than I ever would. So I think young people are going to push.
Do you see like the culture of people posting, like, I don't know if you guys have like X or Twitter over there. Is it like sort of like if there's something similar to that where people just kind of post like whatever?
Many Chinese people are browsing Twitter and Reddit. They are using a VPN to stuff.
So you have to get a VPN, and then you can see a lot of stuff. But in Chinese social media, like Weibo, you're not posting crazy stuff.
People just post on news like Charlie Kirk got shot or something, but there's no comment. We just say Charlie Kirk got shot.
People are aware all the time that somebody's scrolling through their social media. Whatever they do on their phones, somebody's watching. People are aware of that?
Many of my high school classmates are aware of that, but some people don't know that. And some people know that and they think the government is good. It's good to be watched, to be monitored. Some people think like that.
Yeah, so it's good to be watched, and so therefore, it really it keeps people from saying a lot of really outlandish things.
And some people think it's not a good thing to be watched, but it's not a bad thing, and it's acceptable.
If the government was really watching us in the way that they're watching in other places, right? Some other places, right? Because, Days is saying, like, yeah, in India, we have a lot of places have freedom of speech all over the world. I mean, it's fine in practical terms. How much would your lives change if you really were being carefully observed, and, you can't say, there are all these things you really can't say and you shouldn't say, and how much would your lives change?
I mean, probably a lot.
How so?
In terms of like, so would there be like a strict like rules that you have to follow, or is it just sort of like the same?
You just can't say things about the government. You can't post a photo of Donald Trump in a clown costume. You can't. There's just things you can't do. But mostly you can do whatever you want to do on social media, but you just can't criticize certain things and certain.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that like the media that we consume would probably change more. Like maybe mainly the first one that comes to mind is like comedy shows where they kind of like criticize the government here or there. And I think that if we were observed more, then the media would change a little bit.
Does that frighten you that could happen here?
Yeah. Yes.
Does it frighten you?
Yeah, and to add on to that, I would say I feel like mostly it's expressing my opinion within my friends, but that's also through like direct messaging, which in maybe this scenario is being also monitored. So to not have that ability to share my opinion with my friends and have their opinion be shared with me, I feel like I would be less intelligent or less able to have my own individual opinion because I wouldn't have anyone able to say, hey, this is wrong, or hey, this is right.
So for you guys, the phone is really important for you as a place to express yourselves and put different ideas out there.